So the first question actually from Slido was, what is the most useful tech you have on your farm? So maybe it's something you use every day that you actually think is making a big difference. Will, what do you think?
I'll be honest, we've probably just very simple thing of just basically monitoring staff performance, and we monitor that not necessarily every day, but on a weekly basis.
Staff performance.
Yeah, and actually just sort of not necessarily to monitor poor performance, but it's actually see what we can get out and what better things we can get. So, so we just have a simple little app what we've developed, and
you developed your own app for doing that, did you? Big Brother on the prowl, keeping track of everything. What about you, Tom?
Well, in terms of the thing that we use every day, it's got to be the mobile phone, I think.
Yeah.
Nice little computer in our pockets nowadays, when we can get a signal, of course, which, by the look of the results of the Slido, wasn't terribly widespread throughout the countryside. But that's the one thing that we use every day, and we've got so much data now in our pocket, and we can record things on it as well.
Yeah. What about weather?
Yeah, we can look above and see that better than any app can.
Is that better?
Yeah, because I just keep deleting the apps because they're just so unreliable.
Yeah.
And for all the technology companies out there, if you want to improve something for us, the one thing that you can do is develop a better weather forecast for us, please.
Almost impossible now, though. That's the problem, isn't it? That it's so volatile now. It's very hard to do. What about you, David? I mean, you were giving us all the detail there of how many different things you do use on the farm, and you've got a lot going on, haven't you? Is there one you would pick out as the most useful?
It's got to be the mobile phone, just because it facilitates all that other stuff, so we can look at it on the go.
What about the sort of things you'd use on the phone, though? What would you?
I pick and choose which weather app I want to use, depending on whether it's going to say it's raining or not. Then I delete that one and look at another one. Yeah, I think the statistics side of stuff, performance stuff. So during harvest, to help with planning, trying to be efficient to make the operators' lives as easy as we can. So looking at real-time information, going through some of those apps, whether that is My John Deere or Field View. I find that very useful when people are operating, so we can see where they're at, where we need to get the fuel bowser down there, just to try and make people's life more efficient and
Actually,
and
it is running things, isn't it? It's how you run, what's where, when, and how that fits in with your daily operations. Let me ask you about the challenges. What was the biggest challenge, Will, do you think, for you, using technology?
Basically, making sure you're actually getting the most out of every part of it, and actually, it's that openness to always accept that you don't know every bit of it, and you can actually say, right, in actual fact, you need another training session on something, and being able to actually just focus on the bigger picture of right, we need to actually just take a step back here, maybe rethink it again, restart.
How many of you grew up with I can't see how old you all are, but, I mean, I have to say, I am 60, so I get challenged on this because I didn't grow up with tech. And how many of you find, just let's have a show of hands, how many of you find it a challenge, your heart sinks, and you go, oh, I have to learn something new? Just a few of you. How many of you have sons or daughters who are really good at using tech, who help you? Yes, absolutely. And how many of you are just like really cool with it, easy, no problem, pick it up, it's intuitive? Oh, very good. So it's quite spread over there, and I think that's what everyone finds. If you can't do it, someone else on the farm might be able to.
Yeah, I'll openly admit I'm not the most technological. I grew up more in the workshop, playing with a proper engine rather than anything like that. So, yeah, probably my 3-year-old daughter's probably better than me. Yeah, that's where we are.
I think it's one of those things, isn't it? But you can always get help. And that's what a lot of these companies do. Don't you find that, David, that
Yeah.
with all the systems you use, like Omnia, that there's always help there?
Yeah, I think proactive help as well, actually. If you engage with them, that they're really keen to share their views. And not just saying Omnia because we're here today, but if you come up with a challenge for them, they'll take it away and they'll build on it. But the development between the different manufacturers has been better. Everyone used to keep their own system, and it was really frustrating that systems wouldn't talk to each other, or we couldn't download them onto the same platform. And that's got a lot better Isobus connections, data collection between parties. We don't want to be prescribed what we do. We choose a system to help our unit,
Yes.
help our farm, and that might not be someone else's, but we want to use their data collecting system, but we want to use someone else's guidance system. So that's becoming better.
What about you, Tom? There's another question here, actually, which adds on to this, which is, why are farmers so afraid to share their business and performance data and not their personal data? How do we change that? Because sharing data is something, isn't it? All this technology brings you data.
Yeah,
which actually is better to share.
I don't think we are afraid to share it. Well, I'm not. Certainly, we had a discussion yesterday actually with the Helix farms, and we were all quite keen to share data, especially if it's anonymised. We haven't really got anything to lose, I don't think, because we're gaining from it, and we've been part of a benchmarking group since it was set up from AHDB Monitor Farm, and we've kept it going since that finished, and we get a lot of value out of it because we can interrogate our business based on what other people are doing to say, well, why am I higher there? What can I do to improve? But one of the things that does worry me, I'm not a skeptic, but I will encourage everybody to quiz data. We want to see data, and we want to make life easier, but you also have to trust it, and that's one of the main barriers I think with it is, do you trust it? And you've just got to make sure that you are trusting. We've had some dodgy weather stations before, just sort of pinging at me on my phone, telling me that it's -5 on the 31st of August. Right. And just, simple things like that, you just sort of lose the faith somewhat in things like that when you can just look in a rain gauge and see how much rain you've had, and instead of measuring it bouncing on a little pad somewhere.
Right.
So the data has to be accurate, and it has to be trustworthy, and trust is earned. So you've got to make sure when you're selling us something, you get it right first time. Because if you get it wrong, you lose the trust, and then it takes a while to get it back again.
Very, very good point. Also, one of the popular questions on here is about how much you spend on this. I don't want figures of your farms, but when you're looking at a percentage of your business, are you saying, I have a budget for this, and I will spend this much, and will it help me save money in the long run? What do you think, Will?
I think we probably look at it a different way, really. Right, the cost is potentially the cost, but it's actually what it's going to gain us back. And can we see a return? And that return doesn't necessarily even have to be in year one. It could be, several years down the line. And really, I'd say the important part really is actually, extrapolating that data, just like yield mapping to start with. We had to sit back in several years of, right, yield map, and we had probably zero return for a few years. But now, we're certainly seeing that
made a
return.
difference.
Yes. Yeah.
Significant difference, would you say?
I wouldn't say necessarily significant yet, but we can see the trend of where we're going.
And it's keeping going,
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
a difference.
Yeah.
Tom, what about you? What about how much you invest in this?
I take it as it comes. So everything is judged on its merits, and some things are much easier to see the benefit from than others. It's almost much easier to see a value in something if somebody comes to you with a solution to a problem.
Is that why you started using some of your technology? Were you trying to solve a problem?
Yes, we're always looking to improve, and actually, some of the most reliable data I think that we use on a day-to-day in informing other decisions is yield data, And I know it's been around for a long while, but it can inform so many other things, even down to sort of how much fertiliser you put on. You know exactly where your good bits are and your bad bits are, so why are you treating the bad bits like the good bits and things like that. So some of the older data can still be as valuable as some of the new stuff. That what I really dislike is when we get presented with a solution and then they ask you to find the problem. And that's very difficult to then put a value on. So we want to see a solution to a problem that we've already got, and then we can instantly say, yes, I'll pay for that because that's going to save me X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. David, what about you?
Yeah,
You've invested quite a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, we've invested because we had a need. So it either made management easier or the business more efficient or safer. I think the bit I like about it is then I've got a digital toolbox in my pocket on my phone, so I can look at stuff on the go. I can then challenge either some information I'm being given, or I can be in a field, record information. So if there's solutions there and I think, well, actually that's helpful to my business, then we'll generally employ it.
That's a really good point, isn't it? You don't have to be stuck at your computer with your mouse to be doing this. You can be out in the field using this technology.
I'd put a caveat on that. People who know me know I also have a 1980s Filofax that gets updated every year.
Excellent.
So I do digital, but I also do written down stuff as well.
But that's important, isn't it? I mean, I've
about
got
having
this
data
and I've
to
got
hand.
this, so, you know,
Yeah.
it's...
Having data down,
yeah.
accessible, easy to get hold of,
Yeah.
recording it, and some of these platforms make that a lot easier and a lot more accurate.
OK, thank you very much. Question here. How do you think we can use data to add value to our produce? That's a really good question, joining up what you're producing on the farm, the value, with the data that you're getting on the farm. What do you think?
Well, for us, it was taking poor areas out of production, efficient fields, trying to square fields up, putting bendy bits into countryside stewardship or SFI options. And so it's about making the bit that we're going to grow the crop on the most profitable and the most efficient and hopefully the right quality. So it was fairly black and white for us. Don't try and push water uphill. Grow it on the best land in a format that's going to give you the least risk and the highest opportunity of growing what the customer wants.
Well, we're talking about mapping, about fields, SFI. Does it all work in together, Tom?
Oh, very, very definitely, like David just alluded to. I mean, to be able to look at all your field data and spatially see exactly how much it's cost you to grow a crop on every part of that field, and then say, well, why are we bothering to grow it there when we could be earning twice as much doing an environmental scheme or a dog park, which I'm quite jealous of by the look of it. So, I mean, that I think is one of the easiest wins from farm management software. I think.
Does it communicate with the RPA? Okay, I mean, does that make it easier as well?
Yeah, I mean, you can bring field boundaries in. I don't think it necessarily needs to communicate with the RPA. As long as we can see what's right. I don't want them trying to tell me what's right.
Okay.
Very helpful for inspection. So if you've got it
Yeah.
mapped, written down, recorded, snapping a photo of emergent states or a wildflower area.
Okay.
If you're getting picked up, then rather than scrolling through filing cabinets, it's very handy.
And you can prove what you're saying, you know.
Yeah, and I think it also gives the impression that you're probably slightly more professional as well, that you're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to get the ethos of the project, even if you might not have got it all 100%.
One thing I would add, just on the back of that, though, it's also for us, it's thrown a few questions out there about individual fields in the form of, yes, we've squared wavy corners off and poorer sides of field, but if there's like a little pocket in the middle of a field, do we treat that with more, treat it with less? And that's what I'm still learning. And I think that's an individual for individual field basis. So, yeah, so it has raised those questions to us.
Thank you very much indeed. We're out of time now. However, if you corner any of these people during coffee, I'm sure they'll answer more questions from you. So Will Gagg, Tom Jewers, David Hoyles, thank you both all very much indeed. Thank you.